Hey folks, welcome back. Today, this video is probably a little premature, but I'm really getting excited and psyched up for my summer hiking schedule. If you don't know or haven't heard yet, I know it's been posted on a couple of different platforms, YouTube, Facebook. I partner up with 302 Outdoors. A good friend of mine, Bruce, he recently picked up the hobby of hiking, and I'm loving it because now him and I can hike together. We met, I met Bruce maybe 20 years ago. He was working at a local motorcycle shop. I was, in there quite regularly, buying motorcycle parts for dirt bikes and whatnot. And him and I got to talking, we got to be friends. We ended up riding a couple of times together. And, here we are 20 years later, we keep in touch and, we're pretty good friends. So I'm excited that he's hiking. And I'm even more excited that he's hiking with me. And we have a trip planned for this summer. It is a 3-day backpacking trip in Green Ridge State Forest. I've been to the forest many times throughout my life. I started backpacking there probably in the 80s. I was young, 12, 13 years old. My grandparents would actually let me spend the night by myself in the state forest. I'm pretty sure they touched base with the park ranger or the DNR guy or whatever. So they knew where I was. It was fairly safe, and it was the 80s. But that was kind of like the beginning of my adventures, or at least my journey into backpacking and hiking and camping. Been doing that my whole life. So I'm really excited for this trip. And, this is probably a little premature, but I'm starting to think about, some of the gear that I want to take with me. This is definitely not all of it. In fact, there's a couple different options here for stuff. I'm just not sure what I want to do. I dug through a few of my storage bins this morning and pulled out some gear that I thought I might want to use and take with me. I really haven't locked down, my kit yet for that trip, but I'm going to start doing it now. And I thought it'd be good to walk you through what I have so far, and you can leave your opinions or suggestions down in the comments. And, maybe I can put together a good kit, or maybe you'll let me know something that I was unaware of. Always open to advice and suggestions. So let's jump right in. First thing is I'm going with my Alice pack. Now, this is not a factory Alice pack. As you can see, I have an upgraded lumbar and waist belt on it. That it's not original. I couldn't even get matching colors for it because, that I guess they don't make them or whatever. But, if you've ever carried an Alice pack, you'll know what I mean, that this rides it more on your hips. This lumbar and these straps are definitely better than the ones that come on it originally, if you've ever, rocked an Alice pack. I'm sure many of you have. Not the most comfortable thing to wear or to use, but with a few upgrades, it can be, quite useful, and they are super, super durable. They come with the metal frame. It's aluminum, and then they make different size actual packs for it. This is a large, which I believe is a 58 liter, but they also make a medium and a small that also fits on the same frame. And then the shoulder straps that I bought for it that are upgraded, as well as the lumbar waist belt, it'll fit the frame. Has nothing to do with the size of the bag that you put on it. I prefer the larger bag because that's what I've always used. This one's quite beat up. It's probably 30 years old, if I had to guess. And it was used when I got it, because all of this stuff is used. Unless you're in the military and you are lucky enough to get issued something brand new, which is pretty rare, but it does happen. And I believe that the large pack is 58 liter, I believe. But I've used this many times for many years. It holds plenty of gear, and normally enough for me to go 3 to 5 days. Now, this trip that I'm planning with Bruce is a 3-day trip. It's 30 miles. We're gonna basically, give me 1 second. I'm gonna put this gear in this bag, as we go through it. It's basically a big loop around Green Ridge State Forest. That's about 30 miles. You know, so I figure if we can average 10, 12 miles a day, which is easily doable, you know, we should finish easily within 3 days. And, you know, it's possible if we, you know, get a few extra miles the first 2 days, the third day coming around the back side of the loop back to where we started, you know, will be a short hop. So let's go through some of the, this is just a boonie hat that I keep in my bag. You know, I wear a ball cap most of the time, but I do keep a boonie hat. Reason being, if it starts to rain, it's definitely not waterproof. I've sprayed this a couple of times with waterproofing stuff, but I don't like it running down the side of my face when it rains. So having the boonie hat keeps the water, you know, running away from my face. And I have a couple of these. I keep in a couple different packs. These are just the cheap ones you get off Amazon. This is nothing fancy, nothing special. And normally when they get dirty or, you know, if they start smelling, I just throw them away and buy another one because they're so inexpensive. But it is something that I do bring with me pretty much in every pack, just because I'm not a big fan of, you know, water, you know, running down the side of my face. I'll start with the big stuff. Some of this stuff is actually non-negotiable. I've used it for years. I swear by it. And I'm not going to replace that. A lot of this stuff, I'm open to suggestions because I've used all of this gear and it all has its advantages and disadvantages, but some things I've used and it's never let me down, and I'm just going to stick with it. If there are other options out there, please let me know. I'll look into it, but I can be pretty stubborn sometimes. So first we'll go with my sleep system. This is the third or fourth Nature Hike is the name of the company. It's pretty popular on Amazon. They're not the greatest quality, but they're not the worst. But the advantage is their products are quite affordable. I think I paid about $150 for this. It's a two-person backpacking tent. It's a little bit tight for two people, but it's more than enough space for one person and your gear. So, you know, this is what I'm going to go with. I do have redundancy on this, or at least a backup just in case, but I've used this several times. It hasn't let me down. It's lightweight. It weighs about 3.5 or 4 pounds, maybe. So for the ease and convenience of having a tent that I can zip up and it has a rain fly on it, you know, I'm going to take this as opposed to building a shelter, you know, or bushcrafting a shelter, you know, just for 1 or 2 nights. You know, the weight versus the convenience to me is worth it. So that's what we're going to rock. It's going to be my two-person backpacking tent. And then also, which is also Nature Hike, this is actually a down sleeping bag. This tiny little thing is a 20-degree down sleeping bag. It crunches down. I can probably even get it a little smaller than this. This is also Nature Hike. I don't remember the exact model. I've had this about 5 or 6 years. I was kind of hesitant when I bought it because generally, if you know anything about down bags, they're pricey. If you look at some of the brand names that are actual goose down, you know, not synthetic, but actual goose down bags, they're pricey, $400 and up. I was surprised that this was as inexpensive as it was, and I was hesitant to get it. But I figured if by chance, because the tent worked out to be pretty good, and I've had 2 or 3 previous Nature Hike products, also tents that were pretty durable. I was fairly happy with them. In fact, they have another model that just came out. I noticed it a few months ago. I think it's about $200. It's also a backpacking tent, like an ultralight. I think it weighs a little bit less than the one I have, and it's about the same size footprint. So I may look into that. But for this season, I'm probably just going to rock the one I have. You know, it's been good to me thus far. It's fairly lightweight. It doesn't leak, which is a plus to me. I do not like getting wet in the middle of the night while I'm sleeping. This bag I've used for probably 4 or 5 seasons. I can tell you that if it's warm and muggy like 70 degrees or above, this is a bit excessive. Even though it's a 20-degree bag, it's a bit warm. I tend to kick it off, because it's too warm. The coldest I've ever stayed was, I think it dropped down into the upper 30s one time when I was camping and had this, and I didn't even realize it was so chilly out because I was so warm in this. So again, another nature hike product. If you've never checked them out, I'm pretty sure I stumbled across them on Amazon. Their products are decent. If I had to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably dance 6, 7, maybe 8 on the scale, because to feel them, they feel a bit questionable, but I've used this for 4 or 5 seasons, maybe 6. It's been through the washing machine. It does not go in the dryer. It hang dries. But have run it through my front load washing machine in the laundry room, and it does just fine. I also have a bag liner that I didn't bring out that I probably will take with me, because I think our trip is planned for August, which is a good chance, even though it's in the mountains, there's a good chance it's still going to be a bit warm and muggy, and the bag would be too much, to where I'd be fine sleeping in the tent just with the bag liner. So I will take the bag liner with this, but that's going to be that. Now, some of the things that are non-negotiable are my tarp. This is a brand new one. I retired the previous tarp that I had, but these are just basic plain Jane. Past couple of years, I bought them at Harbor Freight because they have them on the shelf, but I think I got them at Lowe's beforehand. I don't remember. I know Sunny Surplus, which closed many, many, many years ago, also had camouflage tarps. If by chance I would need to construct a shelter of some sort, I have a tarp. It's 5 by 7, I believe, or 6 by 8 or something. It's not very big. It has the grommets in it. It's a medium quality. I think it's 5, maybe 7 mil. But this is non-negotiable. I will take this with me. It hardly weighs anything, maybe a half a pound. But it will go with me because I don't like getting wet, and I prefer to have something that I know is guaranteed to protect me versus something that that may not. So, all right, I'm not going to pack this the way I would normally. I'm just going to throw it all in here, and then I'll pause the video, and I'm going to run in the back to the scale, and I'm going to hang it up and weigh it, just to give you an idea of what it weighs. Here's another item that is iffy. I don't know if I'll take this or not. This is just a blow-up, self-inflating pillow. It's an Ozark Trail. I don't know whether I bought this in Walmart or ordered it off their website. I'm not sure if they carry this on the shelf, but it packs up pretty small. It weighs just a couple of ounces, and it's a pillow. Normally, I wad up some clothing and use that, but I found these. They were on sale, I guess. I don't know. I've had them for about 6 or 7 years. I've used them a couple of times. They're not hateful. It's better than nothing. And if I have room in the pack, I'll leave it in there. But if I end up getting to the limits of the pack, this will be one of the first things that comes out, is the pillow, because it's not really a necessity. It's more of a luxury. This is my sleeping pad. I got an email or something. I forget how I stumbled across this. It was a small company, and they were trying to they were kind of like advertising to try to get their name out there. And I think I paid $30 for this sleeping pad. It's called Sleep In Go, or Sleep In Go, or however you want to pronounce it. I'm not real sure. I think I paid like $30 for this, and it is phenomenal. I don't know what they cost now. I haven't been to the website. I bought 2 of them. I still have both of them. Neither one of them leak air. You blow them up. It's a pad. It blows up to about 2.5, maybe 3 inches thick. And, the size of, I don't know the width and the length. I don't remember. But it's big enough for me. I'm 5'10", is my height. And it's probably 20 to 24 inches wide when it blows up. It does fit in my hammock, which I'm not taking unless I decide to do away with the tent. if I decide to go a different route and actually do away with the tent, because Green Ridge can be quite rocky, so finding flat, level, unrocky ground is kind of a challenge at Green Ridge. So I may switch out the tent and go with a hammock. I'll still use the tarp as my my canopy, or something above me to keep the rain off, or if it was to rain. But this pad does fit in my hammock, and I can sleep that way, and it does make a huge difference. And for, like I said, I think I only paid $30 for this. They may have gone up in price since then, but I would definitely check them out. You can probably search it on Amazon or just Google search it. Sleep and Go. And I know it's not a very popular brand name because I had never heard of it before, and I thought, oh, what the heck, I'll check it out. Because I had an old school foam mat that I don't even know if I still have. I might have thrown it away after I got this, because it's super lightweight. It blows up pretty quick. I don't need a pump or anything. I can just blow it up, with my air. And it's great. So I've been using this for years, and I'm pretty happy with it. Let's move on to my cordage. This is a Ridgeline. This is just a piece of 1/4 inch. I believe it's a 900-pound tensile strength marine grade line, that I can throw in and use as cordage if needed. And then I also take 4 lengths of paracord. This is 550 paracord, just standard. It's not survival cord. It's just standard lengths of 550 cord in 10-foot lengths that I cut and used a candle to seal the ends. And basically it's guy lines for when I set the tarp up. I have something to tie it off with. I have a 5th 10-foot section of paracord, which this is a bandana and 5 titanium tent stakes, and it weighs little to nothing, and it's kind of multi-purpose. I could use the bandana for a cajillion different things, and then of course the paracord gives me a 5th guy line, or a 5th piece of cordage for tying things down, a shelter, or something on my pack. And then I also keep, I believe this is about 50 foot of number 36 bank line. It may only be 30 foot. I don't remember. I've switched this from pack to pack. I bought a roll of bank line years ago, and I cut it into various lengths that I threw in different packs. So I'm really not 100% sure how long this is, but it looks like it could be about 50 feet. 30 at the minimum is what I would take out with me, just in case. So that covers cordage. Along with my cordage, I keep, a couple of carabiners and a couple of small D-rings, and I even have these plastic carabiners that I normally just throw in this pack. If I need to tie something and clamp it on, or if I have to connect 2 lines together, it's helpful to have the D-ring, that you just unscrew it and loop it on. They're pretty convenient. And they hardly weigh anything, in the pack. So, I throw them in there just because if I was to need them, I have them. They don't take up a lot of space, and they don't require, they don't have a lot of weight. Second, my water filter, just a simple Sawyer Mini. I'll probably take smart water bottles. I don't have any water bottle holders on this pack. It's one of the downsides to it. I thought about getting some water bottle sleeves. I know I've seen them on a couple of different websites. In fact, the Hilltop website, you might have seen me pushing it in some of my videos or some of my Facebook pages. Bruce from 302 Outdoors just went and did a tour of their factory up in Pennsylvania. Great little company, make great gear. I'm pretty sure I saw on their website that they do make water bottle pouches that are made to fit smart water bottles or Nalgene bottles. But I'll probably take smart water bottles for this. And then Green Ridge has no shortage of water in it. So I can just filter my water as I need it. So Green Ridge, as far as water goes in Green Ridge State Forest, it's never really been an issue for me to get water. So that's what we'll do is just go with that. The Sawyer usually works fine. Years ago, before I got Sawyers, I just boiled the water. Um, a survival blanket, you never know. I mean, I think I bought a case of these 30 years ago, and most of them aren't even opened yet. So I'll throw it in there. A poncho, I found this in one of the bins. I realized I don't have a poncho in this bag. I'm not sure if I've ever even taken a poncho with me, but I found this in one of the bins and thought, hey, what the heck? If by chance I start having a space issue in the pack, I will start removing stuff that's less priority, like the poncho. It's nice to not get soaking wet, but I'm not going to be so far away from my vehicle to where if it does end up being a torrential downpour or something, I can always just walk back to the truck again. We're doing a 30-mile loop with the truck basically right in the middle. So at any given time, I'm probably only but 4 or 5, maybe 6 hours away from reaching the truck. If not, there's plenty of roads, that go through the park, and there's some camping areas, and there's usually people within an acceptable distance that I could ask for help, or, hey, can you give me a ride back up to my campsite where I left my truck? But basically, it's just a poncho. It says one size fits all. It's probably super paper thin. I could throw it up over me and my pack if I had to, but again, one of those things that may get removed if space starts becoming an issue. I've never taken a camp saw with me before. I usually leave this in my camping gear, but I've for years used an axe. This thing is probably older than some of you that are watching this. I think I've had this since the late 80s. It's rusted. It's been sharpened and beat on rocks and hammered, and it's just been, I believe it's an East Wing or E-Wing, or however you pronounce it. I don't remember the brand. It's long wore off. Again, and I've cleaned it up to try to get the rust off, and it just comes back a day later. It's just one of those things that, whether it's got a little rust on it or not, it still works. And I've used it since I was a teenager. And I'm now 53 years old. So this thing is probably 40 years old, if not 45 years old. This is probably going to be non-negotiable. I will probably take this regardless of what goes in this pack or what has to come out of this pack. Because I also have a pocket knife, and then I think I have another knife I'm going to put in there that I didn't bring out. And then I grabbed this one out of the little box of knives, and I tested it with the ferro rod, so it does make sparks. Not all steel. It's got a nice spine on it, nice 90-degree spine. Not all blades are the correct steel for, making sparks on a ferro rod. So, before I decide, to pack something, I want to make sure it works. If not, it has this striker. But the downside to this is it's on a piece of cordage. It's bungee, but it's kind of hard. It's easier to use the knife. I'll leave this attached. But this is another thing that will, be non-negotiable. I will no doubt take the ferro rod. It'll be in there. But in addition, I'll probably also have a pack of matches. I'll probably throw a Bic lighter in there. And then in my camping bin, which is where the saw was, I have several packs of these storm matches, weatherproof matches. Basically, you can light it, dip it in water, and pull it up out of the water, and it'll stay lit, relight itself. I'm not sure how. It's, they're storm matches. I picked these up at Home Depot. They were fairly inexpensive. And I was surprised that Home Depot even sold something like this, but I saw it on a YouTube channel, The Sensible Prepper. He stumbled across them in Home Depot, and it's like, hey, look what I found in Home Depot. I went to my local Home Depot in the grill aisle, and sure enough, boom, there they were. So I bought them, and I threw them in the camping bin, and now I take them with me when I go camping. So I grabbed a box of those. It weighs nothing. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It's another thing that if I start having space issues in this bag, that it will come out because I have redundancy of other things. About a week or two ago, I put a steering wheel cover on my steering wheel. I did one of the old school leather type that you had to sew on, and it came with two needles and chunks of thread. I only used one to put it on, so I saved the other one and thought, hey, this is good. I could sew a tent, I could sew a sleeping bag, I could sew my bag. So I grabbed it. I'll probably find some sort of little case or little box, you know, maybe because I didn't bring out a first aid kit. I have a little small one in a camping bin I may grab. If not, I'll probably pick up one of those small ones at you know, CVS or Walgreens and just throw this in there with it. But I've been leaving this sit out where I can see it for the past week, so I didn't lose it because I knew, I was like, hey, that's going to go good in my Alice pack. These I've had, these are just binoculars, little Tasco. I think they're like 4 power or 4 zoom, 4x zoom. I don't remember. I think it says it on here. I've had these probably since I was a teenager as well. They're an 8 zoom, 8 by 21. These work great. Not something that I would probably need, but always nice to have if, what's in here? There's a nail in here. I don't even know what that's for. But there was a common nail down in here. I have no idea why that was in there, and a piece of, not sure what that is. Maybe I thought I would keep this in case I had to patch a tent. I don't remember. But I've had these. They originally started in that pack when I was a teenager, and then they went to my Hunt Day pack, and they've bounced around from pack to pack, bag to bag for 40 years. I've had these little Tasco binoculars. They work great. They hardly weigh anything. They were in one of the bins, and I grabbed them. Again, this is another thing that if I start to have a space issue in the bag, I will. This will be one of the things that I'll sacrifice and pull out because it's not 100% necessary. But again, if I have the space available to me, I'll use it. You know, again, I know a lot of this stuff adds up weight-wise, but it's not that far of a hike. Okay. A multi-tool, that's another thing. I don't normally carry a multi-tool in my backpacking pack, but I have 6 or 8 of them laying around. This one is a Gerber suspension. I don't even remember where I got it, but you know, it's got everything you need. It's got a pair of pliers. There's wire cutters on here, and there's various different blades and tools. And again, one of those things that I may pull out. This does have a little bit of weight to it. It probably weighs about 1 pound, maybe 1.5 pounds. It's pretty heavy for what it is. So once I weigh this pack, if I don't like the number, because there is a boatload of stuff that still has to go in here. If you notice, I don't have any food laid out. There's no water in bottles on me to carry it, you know, for the weight of the water. So once I get closer to the trip, I'll start narrowing that kind of stuff down. Like I said, this is probably a little premature, and we'll call this the preliminary bag pack. So another thing that may come out because it's not 100% necessary. This, I've carried this. It's just a folding old school military shovel. I used to have a case for it, but it tore. I've had this since I was a teenager. Digging cat holes and Dakota fires is probably about the only thing that I ever used it for. Backpacking. I do use it, but it's not 100% necessary. It does have a fair amount of weight to it, so it may be one of those things that gets pulled out because I can get by without it, but I do appreciate having it when I do. So again, I'll see how the weight goes, with this pack and where we stand with that. Here's another thing. I know you've heard me talk about these before. I got a stack of them. These are, just a 100% cotton bandana. It's not nylon or rayon or anything. This is actual cotton. I put some grommets on it. They're plastic, so I can put it in the washer and the dryer and clean them because they get nasty. And then I put a carabiner on it so I can clip it to the strap of my backpack, you know, so I can wipe my face or, you know, put it over or whatever. This is another non-negotiable thing. I have these in all my packs. They go with me just about everywhere because, you know, a bandana has a million uses. Now, that brings me to my cook system. Now, this isn't all of it, obviously. I'm undecided between this and this. This is the Corporal's Corner folding handle skillet. If you watch Corporal's Corner's videos, you'll see that he has been making these at his shop in Ohio for probably 6 to 8 months now. This is the folding handle. You see it doesn't have the logo here, which was the upgraded version of this, where the handle was a little longer and caught the ridge and didn't sit down in the pan. I bought this one pretty early in his video, you know, pretty early when he was making them. It's been seasoned, that's why it's kind of this weird color. Check out that folding action. Corporal Sean Kelly making these in the garage or in his shop. You know, he does the hinges and he welds everything. And I haven't used it yet. I ordered it because it is super small. It does everything that I would need it to do, with the exception of you're not really boiling much water in this. But I don't think he designed it for that purpose. So I don't know. I also have a titanium or a stainless steel titanium. I'm not sure what it is. Just these grill. I just got these. These are Hellfire Bushcraft Grill. I've never used anything like this before. Normally, I everywhere I camp and hike, there's rocks, so I can build something to put my pot on, or, you know, put my pan on, or you know, whatever I'm cooking with. I can just sit it on rocks, and so I've never had. But again, Corporal Sean Kelly, he uses something very similar, and I've watched a ton of his videos, and it does look a bunch more convenient to have a grill. So this came as a 2-pack. I don't remember what I paid for it. It's made by Hellfire Bushcraft, made by Hellfire Company. It's called the Bushcraft Grill. It came with this waxed canvas bag, which is really nice. It's got a snap that keeps it closed. I got 2 of them. I probably will leave both in the bag, but I will probably offer one to Bruce at some point from 302 Outdoors, and offer him one because essentially I only need one. But for now, I have both. So I'm still undecided on whether or not to go with this or go with this. This is something that I bought to replace my existing mess kit, if you know what a mess kit is. I just retired that a few years ago, which I loved. It did everything I needed to do, but it was so beat up and burnt, and just, I had it for a long time. So I bought this. This is Pinnacle. I don't know the brand name. Oh, it's a GSI Outdoors. GSI Outdoors Pinnacle. Basically, it's a bush pot. Does, you know, it's got a little carrying bag that it goes in, you know, because once you put it on, you know, some fire, like a campfire or something, or, you know, even on one of these grill, you know, it's going to get black soot all over it. Everything does. And it gets everywhere. So, you know, having this case, which I don't know if this fits in here or not. Oh yeah, it does. So having this, it's got a folding handle. I have not used this yet, but it's pretty basic. It's a bush pot. What I do like about it is, A, it has a folding handle. The lid has holes in it for straining. So, you know, if you're doing ramen noodles or whatever, you can strain the water out. I put a bandana in here because I have this this Peak stove that goes onto a fuel can. I may swap this out for a smaller one. I believe this is a Coleman, the Coleman Peak. It was given to me for Christmas, you know, when I was probably in my mid-20s. I don't remember. I've had it probably 10 or 15 years. But it's just a basic camp stove. It screws right onto the top of the gas, and then you can either put your pot on there or this pot on there, or whatever pot you want to use. And these are not very durable camp stoves. You know, I try not to to buy them. That's why I've always gone just a pan on a fire, because it lasts a lot longer. I've been through so many of these. I think I have a Pocket Rocket, the small, the MSR. I think I have one of those somewhere back there that I used a couple of times, and I'm worried about it breaking. This one seems to be built pretty good, but look how big it is. It's huge. The convenient thing about this is it fits down in there, and then to try to protect this some, this just kind of protects it. It does also give me a cloth for kind of wiping it off. Like I said before, when you cook with this, whether it's on a fire or even on the stove, you get the black soot on the outside, and it really just makes a mess all over the pack and gets everywhere. So, having this or maybe a small little sponge, cut a sponge and just have a small piece. Something, a rag works just as good. But I've seen a lot of the thru hikers, do the small sponge or the small little section of a scrubby pad, whatever works for you. I think, just the plain and simple, bandana does perfect. So again, undecided, but I have time to decide that, down the road. For now, let me pause the video and run this in the back, and I'm going to weigh it using both. I'm going to weigh it using, the system that I'm leaning towards right now, but I will pull this out, put this in, but these are really right about the same. I don't feel any big noticeable difference between the two. This one probably going to be a little bit lighter once I take one of the grills out, but we'll see. I'm going to measure it both ways and, see what it looks like. So, give me a minute. I'm going to pause the video. I'll get this weighed, and I'll be right back with you. All right. That only took a second. Make sure my mic is working, because this is the second time I've done this follow-up. Bag weight in at 23 pounds. I'm extremely happy with that. Still a lot of gear that's got to go in here, plus my food, plus my water. I don't think I'll quite tip 30 pounds with what I still have to put in here. But as I said when I was going through the gear that I had on the table, there is some gear in here that I might take out. So I probably have maybe 2 to 3 pounds of variance. I should come in 26, 27 pounds, which is easily doable. I've hiked, many days with 30 pounds or less. So I'm good with that. I'm very happy that this came in at 23. I was expecting it to be a little bit more. So before I set out on this trip, I will make another video with all of the details of exactly what I'm taking, once I finalize all my thoughts, plus the food that I'm going to be taking. So you'll get to see the final pack and loadout of this just before the trip, as well as I'm going to take the camera on the trip with me. So you'll get to see a lot of this stuff getting used, how I set it up, and you'll get to see the hike. It's about 30 miles in the mountains. I've been there many times before. It's beautiful. The scenery, the views, it's going to be great. You're going to love it. I know I'm excited. I'm pretty sure Bruce is excited. So, when that time comes, we'll get to this. And it's going to be a great time. So for now, keep your head on a swivel, and we will see you in the next one.